Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Wednesday to you. I hope you are having a great week. We are going to do a review lesson together today, so make sure that you have your page out that matches mine here, and we'll go ahead and get started. We're not going to do all of it together, but we'll do some parts of it together. Make sure that you are moving right along with everything that we're learning in math right now. So if you'll take a look here at number 1, you'll remember that we've begun to divide with money. So it's not really that big of a difference, except we have to remember our dollar sign, our decimal point. So I'm going to go ahead and write those so that I don't forget that at the end, because that could affect my answer. So I'm going to go ahead and move my decimal point right up here, and I'm going to write my dollar sign here, and then I know I'm squared away with that. Okay, so thinking about division, I have my 5 steps to division. So I have divide, multiply, subtract, compare, and bring down. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is look here, and I have 8 divided into $50.16. So the first thing I'm going to ask myself is what times 8 will give me 5? Well, there is nothing. In fact, so I would have to use 0. And remember, as we approach 4th grade, we've stopped writing that 0. Okay, so we're just going to move on to the next one here. Now I'm looking at what times 8 would give me 50 or get me close without putting me over, and that would be 8. So I'm going to go ahead and write that right here, 8. My next step is to multiply. 8 times 8, oh, Mrs. Quilty wrote that wrong. That would be a 6. I'm sorry. My brain might have been getting ahead of my hands here. All right, 6 times 8 is, I like this one because it rhymes, 48. So I'm going to write that down there. My next step is to subtract. So I have 50 minus 48, which is going to give me 2. Next, I need to compare. Is 2 less than 8? Yes, it is. So I can do my next step, which is to bring down. So now I have what times 8 will give me 21 or get me close without pushing me over, and that would be 2. So I'm going to write my 2 up here. Next step is to multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. So next I have 21 minus 16. I can't do 1 minus 6. I'm going to borrow from the 2. That becomes a 1. And I'm going to place a 1 here. So now I have 11 minus 6, which would give me 5. Then I need to compare. Is 5 less than 8? Yes, it is. So I can bring down my 6. Now I need something times 8 that will give me 56. I like these because they work perfectly. What times 8 is 56? That should be 7. So I'm going to write that there. 7 times 8 is 56. Now I need to subtract. 56 minus 56 is, hope you said 0, you would be correct. Then I compare. Is 0 less than 8? Of course it is. And there's nothing left to bring down, so we're finished. We have our answer. How would we read this answer? Well, it would be $6.27. Now remember, we've learned how to check, and this is great, particularly on a test, because then you can make sure you have the right answer. So we take $6.27, and we're going to multiply by our divisor here, which if you'll see there was 8. And now we just work our multiplication problem. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 5 is 21. Bring my decimal point down. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 2 is 50. And look at that. Our answers match there, so we are correct, $6.27. Let's move on to letter B together. Don't forget, we're going to go ahead and put that dollar sign and that decimal point, and we are ready to go. Looking at this, I need something times 7 that will go into 8 or give me 8 without putting me over. We can use a 1 there. So I'll put my 1. I'm going to multiply. 1 times 7 is 7. Next step is to subtract. 8 minus 7 is 1. Then I compare. Is 1 less than 7? Yes, it is. So next I can bring down my 2. Now I need to ask what times 7 will give me 12 or get me close. Well, I have to use 1 again because 2 would be 14, which is too high. So I'm going to put my 1 there. 1 times 7 is 7. Subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. Don't forget to compare. That's an important step. Is 5 less than 7? Yes, it is. So next I can bring down this 5. Now I need something times 7 that will give me 55 or get me close? I'm gonna have to go with 7 on this one. So I'll put that there. 7 times 7 is 49. Now I need to subtract. I cannot do 5 minus 9, so I'm going to borrow from this 5, make it a 4, place a 1 there. 15 minus 9 is 6. Is 6 less than 7? It is. It's close, but it is less, so we can move on. Next, we're going to bring down this last number, which is a 3. And again, it's going to work out perfectly for us, which I love. What times 7 is going to give me 63? I hope you said 9. You would be correct. So I'll put my 9 there. 9 times 7 is 63. 63 minus 63 is 0. Look at that. Is 0 less than 7? You know it is, so that is correct. So our answer is $11.79. Let's check just to make sure what we did is right. So $11.79 times 7. All right. 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 7 is 49 plus 6, 54. So I'll put my 5 there, my 4 there. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 5 is 12. And 7 times 1 is 7 plus 1 is 8. Oh, Mrs. Quilty did something wrong. What did I do? Oh, 54, 63. Oh, Mrs. Quilty didn't add this correctly, it doesn't look like. 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 7 is 49 plus 6. Oh, did you catch my mistake? Did you know teachers can make mistakes too? I just made a mistake. $82.53. Look at that. They match, so they're correct. Isn't that fantastic? All right, so I'm glad we checked. That's a good step to do. Don't forget to do that because it can help you to see if you went wrong somewhere. Hey, would you look at number 2 with me here? Number 2 is asking us to do something with our answers from number 1. Remember when we talked about rounding, okay? When rounding money, we have 3 things we must remember, okay? The first thing is our cents go to 0. They just kind of go away. They go to 0. But first, they're going to help us determine if we're going to keep our dollar amount the same or if our dollar amount is going to go up. And you'll remember that if it's from 1 cent to 49 cents, our dollar stays. If it's from 50 cents up to 99 cents, we go up $1, okay? So letter A here is asking us what we're going to do with $6.27. All right, so with the 27 cents, that meets the requirement from 1 penny to 49 cents, so that means our dollar stays. So our cents go away, they just become 0, but our dollar stays the same. So down here, next to letter A, you're just going to write $6, okay? And then this letter B is asking us about letter B up here. So we have $11.79. Okay, so 79 cents is what's going to help us. That meets that second interval there, which was 50 cents to 99 cents, which means we round up $1, okay? So then $11.79 will become $12. Okay, so hopefully you answered those correctly as well. All right, would you look at section 4, which is going to be our story problems here, and let's go over those real quick together. Sometimes we have to read these a couple of times because they ask us to do several things, and you know what? That is okay. Just read it, and if it helps you to circle clue words or underline portions of it, you can even do that just to help yourself out. All right, let's read letter A together. It says, Aubrey and Nathan have 9 boxes of building blocks. There are 787 blocks in each box. That's a lot. That's a big box of those. How many blocks do they have in all? Okay, so how many come in one box? Well, it tells us right here, 786. So let's write that in our workspace here, 786 come in one box. And how many boxes do we have? We have 9. So we're going to write our 9 there. And boys and girls, we would need to multiply this, okay? So 9 times 6 would give me 54. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 5 is 77. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 7 would give me 70. Don't forget your comma there. So how many blocks do they have in all? 7,074. My, I don't even know where you keep all that. 70,074. Hey, don't forget your label there, blocks, okay? All right, let's look at letter B. Letter B says Ethan and his sister Samantha have each saved $17.48. They put their money together and used 1/4 of it to buy a game. How much did they spend on the game? Okay, we have two people here. We have Ethan and we have Samantha. Now they've each saved $17.48. There are two ways, boys and girls, you can figure this out. First, you can take your $17.48 and you can multiply by 2 because we have two people that have saved here. Or some people might prefer to add. Okay, 1748 plus 1748. Okay, so either way, your choice. I'm going to choose to multiply because that's the way I prefer. But if you want to add, I think we'll come to the same answer. So 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 2 times 7 is 14. And 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So again, either way, if you added or multiplied, the answer is $34.96. So Ethan and Samantha have saved together $34.96. Now, we're not finished though, because it says that they put their money together and they only used 1/4 of it to purchase their game. They didn't use all their money. That was smart. First of all, it's hard to save. And second of all, that was smart. Put their money together and then just use some of it to purchase their game so they can save some of it for later, right? So that's like saying 1/4 of their money, which was $34.96. Now, they want to know how much was this game, so we have to figure out what 1/4 of $34.96 is. Now, a lot of times when we do these fractional parts of a number, we can figure those out in our head. But you know, I don't think I want to try to figure this out in my head, so I'm going to write it out like a division problem, which is going to be very similar to what we did at the beginning of our time together today, okay? So I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to divide it into my money, $34.96. Remember, I told you, go ahead and put that decimal and the dollar sign so we don't forget, all right? Now we're just going to go through our division steps. So what times 4 will give me 3? Nothing, and we're not putting zeros, remember, we're better than that. We've moved on from that. So now we're going to look at what times 4 will give me 34 or get me close without putting me over, and that would be 8. So let's put our 8 there. 8 times 4 is 32. Next, I need to subtract. 34 minus 32 would give me 2. All right, next I need to compare. Is 2 less than 4? Yes, it is, so I can bring down my 9. All right, what times 4 will give me 29 or get me close? And that would be a 7. All right, so 7 times 4 is 28. Next, I'm going to subtract. 29 minus 28 would give me 1. Is 1 less than 4? It is. Next, I can bring down my last number, which is a 6. What times 4 will give me 16? That would be a 4. I'm going to multiply. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. Don't you like that when it works out that way? I sure do. So boys and girls, the answer to our question is how much did they spend on the game? They spent $8.74. So I'm simply going to write that down on my line there. All right, after you have done that, would you flip your paper over with me? I'd like to look at the back for just a moment. We're not going to do all of them together, but I would like to go over a few of them with you. Here in section 6. Now, I know when we were here at school, if I would sometimes call out to my students, you know, like this one, 1/2 of 2, most of them could answer 1, just like that. And most of those we can do in our head, okay? Some of these require a little more thinking, but you know what? You can still do it in your head. You just have to think for a minute, really think through what it's asking you, but you can still do it. So I want to challenge you today to do these 2 that I'm going to go over with you in your head first, and then we can check it to make sure that we did it correctly, but I think you can do it. I know you can, okay? So let's look at letter B. Letter B is one of those, boys and girls, it's not going to work out perfectly. It's going to be a mixed number, our answer is, okay? So we would look here and ask ourselves, what is 13 divided by 2? Or basically, how many times will 2 divide into 13? Well, nothing times 2 gives me 13, but I do know that 2 times 6 will give me 12. That's close, and it doesn't go over my number, okay? So I'm going to write my 6 here, all right? Now, 2 times 6 will give me 12. How many are left over between 12 and 13? Just 1. So that's going to be my numerator here, and I'm going to keep that same denominator, which would be 2. So 1/2 of 13 would just be 6.5. Now, if you want to check yourself, boys and girls, just to make sure, because that's not a bad idea, we have 2 divided into 13. So you can look at it this way, okay? And then we would know we'd have to put a 6 here. 6 times 2 would give me 12. 13 minus 12 would give me 1. Do you remember last week when we learned about writing our remainder as a fraction? Okay, so you would just take that remainder there and keep your divisor as the denominator. Remember, divisor, denominator, we talked about that too. Okay, so the other one I want to look at with you is letter D. Would you look there with me? So this one's kind of like that. It's not going to work out perfectly, but we can still be challenged to use our brain for that, okay? So how many times will 3 divide into 10? Think about that for just a moment. We don't want to go over. What times 3 will get me close to 10? That would be 3, okay? So that's going to be my big number here. Now, 3 times 3 is 9. So from 9 to 10 is just 1. Okay, so that's kind of like my remainder, my leftover. So I write my 1 there. Remember, our denominator will stay the same here. Let's work it out like a division problem so we can see it that way, because sometimes our brains can remember a certain way. So here's 3 divided into 10. Essentially, that's what we just did in our mind, okay? So what times 3 will get me close to 10? That would be the 3. 3 times 3 would give me 9. Go through our steps. 10 minus 9 would give me 1. And then if we were to write the remainder as a fraction, then that would be 1/3. And there's our answer there, okay? I have a feeling you did really well on those, so I think you'll do great. Hey, I want to scroll down. I know it says homework, but I'd like to look at this one with you. I like doing these. They're kind of fun. But I want to go over this because I know there's lots of steps to it. So I want to make sure that while we're apart from each other that you're able to keep going with these, okay? So number 1 on your homework says to solve the measurement equation. So let's take a look here. The first thing that we need to do is determine how do they want the answer. I have gallons here and I have quarts, but what do they want the answer to be written in? Well, they're showing me right here with this blank and it says quarts. So I know that they're going to want my answer to be in quarts. So I'm going to rewrite my problem keeping that in mind. This is not in quarts, so I'm going to need to change that. So I'm going to draw a blank quarts minus, this is already in quarts, so it can stay the same. 3 quarts equals blank quarts, okay? So stay with me, that's the first thing we're going to do. Next, I need to put a box around the ones that are different. So looking here, these are the same, these are the same. Oh, but these are different. You see that? We have gallon and we have quart. So we're going to draw a box around that one. Okay, next I have to do my 1, 2, 3. So let me go ahead and write that out. 1, 2, 3. 2 is going to be my special number. Okay, I've used this example before. I don't drink it very often, but I do love chocolate milk. Okay, so if I'm going to drink some chocolate milk, and I love it, do I want a gallon of chocolate milk or do I want a quart of chocolate milk? Well, if I love it, I'm going to want a gallon, right? So if I'm going from a gallon of chocolate milk, which is a lot, to a quart of chocolate milk, which is smaller, I'm going to multiply, right? Larger to smaller, we multiply. So I'm going to write my multiplication symbol here. Next is my special number. I have to ask myself, how many quarts are in a gallon? I hope you remember that is 4. Okay, so that's going to be my special number, 4. Next, I have to take the only other number in my box, which is a 6. And you told me here for number 1, I was going to multiply by my special number, which is 4. 6 times 4 is, another one that rhymes, 24. Okay, so I'm going to fill it in right here, 24. Don't skip this step, boys and girls. We have one more step to get our answer, is to subtract. So we have 24 quarts minus 3 quarts would give me 21 quarts. I'm gonna write those there. So I have the answer as 21 quarts. I've enjoyed being with you today. I hope you've enjoyed our math time together, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.